Hey everyone, about to get started. So we're doing the advanced artistry for the red gems, which is this little trinket tray here. I've got the same colors that I had mixed up from the previous two sessions. So I've got a burgundy color here. I've got true red, which is our pearl color this month. In spot 4, I've got tiger lily. So in spot 3, I've got a mix between the red and the tiger lily. And then in spot 6, I've got the sunset gold. And in spot 5, I've got a mix between the tiger lily and the gold. So I've got a little gradient going on here. The colors don't have to be exactly the same as long as you can tell that they're different from one shade to the next. I'll make a beautiful design. I've got my step-by-step guide here if you want to follow along with that. And today we're also going to use a paintbrush. So I've got a liner brush. You can use any round brush, but I find that the longer the bristles, the easier it is for me to make some brush strokes. And for this design, I'm going to use the 8-arm stencil. So I'm going to go ahead and get that on there. All right, to get started, we're going to use our 10mm, and we're going to use the true red for our center dot. Next, we've got 2 rings to create around that center dot. So we're going to do one in burgundy, and then we're going to do one with our red orange. So I'm going to use my 1mm tool and my burgundy. And I'm going to start, we're going to make 16 dots, but I'm going to start with my north, south, east, and west. So I get those 4, and then I'm going to do in between each of those to make 8. And then in between each of those to make 16.
What size are you using, Tara?
I'm sorry, this is the 1mm.
Thank you. And in the burgundy, right?
Yes. And once I get all 16 of those, I'm going to use my 1.5 millimeter tool, so just slightly bigger. I'm going to use my color 3, which is my red orange. And I'm going to add a set of dots in between those, just slightly offset. So we'll end up with 16. And this is red orange 1.5 millimeter. Next, I've got my 4 millimeter tool, and I'm going to use my color number 4, which is my tiger lily. And we're going to add a 4 millimeter dot in every other space. So I'm going to use the lines, and we're going to add 8 dots. Then I'm going to grab my 6 millimeter tool, and I'm going to use my color number 6, that's the sunset gold. And we're going to make 8 pins, and these are going to go in between the dots we just made. So these are in between there, and I'm going to go up slightly because we are going to pull these into a pin. So create your dot and then use your 1 millimeter stylus tool to pull that down into a pin. On each side of these pins, I'm going to swipe. So I'm going to add an orange yellow swipe with 1.5 millimeters on each side. And I'm going to start slightly outward and pull in. So it's a little bit curved. Of course, yours can be a little different than mine. If you want to make them straight, that's fine. And this is my color 5 orange yellow. I'm going to continue using my 1.5 millimeter tool. I'm going to go to Tiger Lily, which is my color 4. 1.5 millimeters, and I'm going to walk the dots in a straight line in between the swipes I just made. So I'm going to find this dot right here that we did in a previous step. And I'm going to add a walk the line in 4 dots. Next, I'm going to grab my 3 millimeter tool, and I'm going to use my red orange. So for me, that's color 3. And I'm going to add a center dot above each one of these teardrops that I made. So that was 3 millimeters and my red orange. And once I have all 8 of those, I'm going to continue using the same color, red orange. I'm going to switch to my 1.5 millimeter tool, and I'm going to walk the dots. And I'm going to go from the dot I just created at an angle down to this line here that I walked. So I'm going to dip and add 4 to the right, and then dip and add 4 to the left. And it connects those. And I'm going to do the same all the way around.
Tara, what size are you using there?
This is 1.5 millimeters.
Thanks, I'm just a tad behind.
Next, I'm going to get my 6 millimeter tool, and I'm going to go to my deep burgundy. I need to put just a little more in my container. Bear with me just a second. All right, 6 millimeter tool, deep burgundy, and we are going to make 8 dots. They are going to go in that little dip in between this pattern we just created. So there are going to be 8 of those. Then next we're going to get our 4 millimeter tool, and we're going to do a set of double dots in the red orange, which is color 3. So right next to that dot I just created, I'm going to put one above and to the right and one above and to the left. This is 4 millimeters and red orange. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my 6mm tool and my color number 6, that is the Sunset Gold, and we're going to create a short teardrop. So down here, I pulled my teardrops a little bit longer. Up here, they're a little shorter and fatter. So I'm going to use my 6mm tool to make a dot, and then my smallest stylus just to pull that into a little pin or a teardrop. Then I'm going to get my 1.5mm tool, and I'm going to use my orange yellow, which is my color number 5. And I'm going to add a swoop next to each pin here on each side, about halfway up, going inward towards those double dots. Then I'm going to switch to the smaller end, the 1mm end. I'm going to use my Tiger Lily, which is color number 4, and I'm going to add another small swoop in here, in between the one we just did and those double dots. Next, I'm going to get my 2.5mm tool and my orange yellow, color number 5. And I am going to create a rounded walking the dots next to this pattern I created. So I'm going to curve it to the right and curve it to the left on each side. So I'm going to start up here. I'm going to dip and then start up here by the yellow. And I'm going to walk 6 dots on each side. And I'm going to curve it towards this red or burgundy dot at the bottom. Then next, we're going to add in some swoops. And from here on out, any of the longer swoops that we do, you can either use your 3mm tool or you can use a brush. For these in here, these are small enough. I'm just going to stick with my stylus tool. But I'm going to go ahead and get my tiger lily, which is color number 4. And I'm going to add a swoop on the right and then a swoop on the left. And to make these a little bit longer, I kind of do like a half pull and then go back to my start and pull it the rest of the way. So I'll pull halfway and then pull all the way. That helps me make it just a little bit longer. And this was kind of the way of dotting before people started using brushes. This is how we would make those long swoops. Once you do that all the way around, we're going to use the same tool and red orange, color 3, and I'm just going to add another set of swoops. And this one I'm going to make just a little bit longer than the previous one. going to get my 2.5mm tool, and I'm going to use my deep burgundy. And in between each of these petals I created, I'm going to start up at the end, and I'm just going to walk the dots inward. I can fit 8, but I would say anywhere between 6 and 8 is good. Then I'm going to get my 4mm tool, and I'm going to add a set of triple dots. So these are coming off of that line we just walked. So I'm going to use 4mm, my color 6, which is my sunset gold. And I've got this line that I walked here. I'm going to add one to the right, one to the left, so that it's centered on this line. And then a third dot right after. So a set of 3. Now all 3 of these are the same size. Depending on how big or small, or I guess tight you made your design, I'm on just starting the edge, just starting that rim where the shape changes on my plate here. And all together we end up with 8 set of those. And I'm going to get my 3mm tool, and I'm going to use my orange yellow, which is my color number 5. And right next to each one of those triangles that I just made, I'm going to dip, and then I'm going to pull outwards to the edge with a swipe. That was 3mm orange yellow. For the rest of this design, here on this outside petal, I'm going to use a brush. And if you don't have a brush or don't like using a brush, you can do the exact same thing by pulling the swoops longer, just like we did in here. So don't freak out if you don't have a brush available. But this is a nice, easy, short part of the pattern to practice brushwork, if this is something you wanted to try. So I'm going to grab my brush, and the first color I'm going to use is my Tiger Lily. So that is color number 4. And just to give you an idea, when I create my brush strokes, I'm going to do it on here. What I like to do when I start is, at my starting point, I'll push down a little bit, I'll drag, and then I lighten up the pressure. And that gives it more of a swoop appearance, or a petal-like appearance. And so that's how I make my brush strokes. This first one I'm going to do, this is going to kind of set the angle for this bloom here that we're going to do. I'm going to start towards the top of this triple triangle, or the inside, depending on how you're looking at it. And I'm going to pull it downward towards the end of that swoop we just made. As we work outward on this petal, I'm going to make each next set just slightly smaller than the one before it. So I'm going to continue using my brush. I'm going to go down to my red orange, which is my color 3. And I'm going to make this one just a little bit shorter, and I'm going to pull one swoop on each side. Oops, dipped in the wrong color there. To continue on, the next color that I used was the deep burgundy, so color number 1. And again, I started just a little bit shorter than the petal previously. And then the last color, we've got 3 colors on here. The last color I'm going to do is the pearl red. And so I'm going to make the shortest swoop on each side. And this is my color number 2. Now this is where I stopped with the base of this design. You do have some room in between these petals on the outside edge. If you wanted to do something in the middle here, feel free to do that. Top dots, I always encourage you to do top dots of your choice. I didn't do too many on this design, but what you'll see here is inside this little circle on each of the teardrops, I pulled a straight swipe with the True Red. On these 6mm dots, I added a True Red dot on there. And then on the outside circles, I added True Red dots here in the center of this set of 3. So that's what I did for top dots. I'm going to leave you to do your own top dots. And I'm going to go ahead and stop here for today. And don't forget to share with me in the share space or in the Facebook group. I can't wait to see what you create. And I'm super excited about next month's palette. It's called Stormy Skies, and I have just really finished everything up, and it's a big switch from these warm colors, and I'm excited to show you all that. So I will see you next time. See you later.